All right, all yours, Cécile.
Okay. Bonjour and welcome everybody for the discussion with filmmaker Noemie Saglio, who gave us this really beautiful film with a kind of a bad American title, The ABCs of Love. That made it sound more generic than it was.
I didn't choose it.
Oh, we know all about that because that question happens all the time. Who chose the American title? But I received a lot of compliment on the film, that it was really delightful and refreshing and fresh and cute, and everybody was very happy. We also invited teachers to watch it for free, so I don't know if some of the teachers who enjoyed it are here to tell us what they thought. But yes, we really wanted to make it like a nice, beautiful and happy time. So thank you so much. And it also, as I'm sure the discussion will show, a really good theme about, how school brings us together. And in these days, it's really important. So I will let you start the discussion, and Kevin, I'll give you back je te redonne la parole.
Merci, merci. Cécile, before we start, I just wanted to remind you that you have two ways of viewing. If you go up to your little, what looks like a waffle and it says view next to it, you can look at gallery, where you'll see a lot of faces, up to 25, sometimes 49 on your screen, or you can put it on speaker, and that way you'll see the person who is speaking rather than seeing all the other people. Yeah, so if you'd like to ask questions, I'm going to ask Noemie a question to begin with, but then you can put your questions in the chat, or if you raise your hand, I'll try to see it, but I don't see everybody on my screen. So if you raise your hand like this, I might not see you. So just use the reactions, and there's a little hand in there and it says raise hand, and we'll see the raised hand on your picture and also in the participants. So there we go. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. It's great to see you all, and thanks for supporting us. We're delighted to have Noemie Saglio here with us today, and I'd just like to start us off by asking her, where did the idea come from to make this film, Parents d'élèves, about schools and relationship between parents and teachers and kids? Where did the idea come from? Is it like your personal experience, or is it something else?
First of all, it's really nice to see you all too on my side, because I haven't been able to see a lot of my audience this time, because the film was only in the movie theater for 2 weeks because of the COVID. They closed all the theaters in France, and I was one of the movies that they closed, so I'm really happy. Thank you very much for being there. It's really nice to see that the film still has a life. And about how the idea came, it was not my original idea, but it's a very good friend of mine who had the first original idea, called Alice Girard, and she's also the producer of the film, with another girl that I worked with as a scriptwriter called Marinette Lévy. And they came to me with this idea. It was still a very small embryo of an idea. I have a lot of kids metaphor, because I have a lot of kids. So they came to me with this idea. It was still unworked on, very little, and I was really into it. I said, "Oh, I love it." I have a kid who's in the film, who's now 12-year-old. So I really wanted to make a film that could speak to her, because the films I did before were a little bit more grown up. So I was so happy to participate. And then we started writing. And then I told them, "Oh, I'm sorry, I cannot shoot this summer because I'm pregnant." So they waited for me for 1.5 years, because I'm a real crazy mom, and I have to stay with the kid when they get out, for 6 months, completely stuck to them. So they waited for me to be able to give birth, and then breastfeed the kid, and then stay with the kid, and then shoot again. So I think that was a real womanly thing about this film, and I felt great doing it. And then my kid was in the film. It was really fun and happy times. Like I think all the kids felt like they were on holiday together. And the whole deal was that we were going to speak about school parents and the school kids in a way that brings everybody together, because that's what I usually do. I do feel good movies. That's how they're called. I'm not there to make you change your life or feel really bad about it. I just want people to spend a nice hour and a half. That's my only wish. So that was it.
So that was it. So if you had to say, sort of as far as schools are concerned, you see them as a place that bring people together, but what other things did you want to talk about as far as schools are concerned?
We really wanted to, my films are always a way to make fun of me and my friends and the people I know and the way we behave. And I think it's particularly true when it comes to our kids, because our kids are the most important part of ourselves. And we suddenly have to leave them somewhere where they spend so much time and we don't have any way to know what they're doing. And we really want to see them, but we can't. So we have these little moments during the year where we can actually participate. And there's so many ways to be a school parent. I'm actually quite a bad school parent, because I'm not really engaged in it, but the two of the other script writers were really engaged. One of them was a head of a school parenting team. I don't know how you call it, but she was really one that was like taking notes and doing the Excel sheets about like everything. And I'm not into it. Like, I never ask any question. I don't want to participate. I'm quite scared with the teachers. I really just want my kid to be happy and okay, but I'm a bit like shy. So I think we all have a way of getting around things with school. And it's so funny, because I'm not saying that everybody is a parent, but a lot of people are parents. And if they're parents, there's going to be a big part of their life when they're school parents. And there hasn't been a lot of films done about it. And I think it's a great comedy subject, because it's one of the places where many people that are very different are going to be together, and they try to think that they're thinking about the best for the whole classroom, but they're actually thinking about the best for their kid. And and it's very difficult for them to really like behave in a good way for the whole classroom. They're always going to think, yes, but my kid has that and my kid has that. It's a very specific place. And if we it's a small it's like a small ball of a society, a small snowball of a society. And it's very interesting to study, I think. Sociologically, you have everything basically in a school class, especially in France, because in France school is totally free, and there's no like there's no difference of rich and poor. In most schools, there's really everything. Like, you have the richest kids with the kids that have less money, and kids from everywhere. It's just depending on where you live, which does have a little impact, but it's not as much as if they were, in different, if there were like money situations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that it was really funny when, right near the beginning of the film, when all the parents come in and they sit in the seats where their kids sit. And it's almost as if you're seeing the little kid become like a big kid all of a sudden. And I've been in that situation myself, and I can remember just sitting there and thinking, this is like shrinking, coming back to being a kid again. And it's funny how outside they seem quite mature in their conversations with each other, but then when they got in that classroom,
yeah,
they raise their hand and, can I go to the toilet?
Yeah, because you have to you still have something with the teachers, right? Like, the teacher is always a teacher, even if you're a grown up. Even, I don't know, for me, it's still something. Like, I could never be mean, or I tried never to like be a bit strange. I always tried to look very square. And I'm a filmmaker, so she knows that that I might be a bit different and artistic and everything. And so I'm always trying to be very like the best kid in the class and be. I don't know why I become like this little girl again when I'm in front of the teacher of my kid. I still have it with the nursery girl. I have it all the time.
And speaking of the teacher, how did you come up with Camilla Jordana to play that role? I thought she was really wonderful as the teacher, and I wasn't expecting, you know, that in this film, I wasn't expecting that kind of person to be the teacher.
It's, you know, I've always had a thing for actresses who have a specific genre. I need them to be striking, but in a specific way. You know, like the actress I worked the most with is Camille Cotin. I don't know if you know her, but I started with her. We started together with my first film, my second film, my third film. So just the three before this one were with her. And she's a little bit my alter ego. And for this role, I needed someone younger, but I always like when they have some strengths and softness. And I didn't want the teacher to be like this perfect, poetic woman that we often see in films. And she's always cute, and she paints with the kids, and she has like this perfect skin, and she's, I don't know, so skinny, vaporative girl that we always see in films. I never want to show that in my films. I always want to show girls who are not perfect, because I don't think we should show our kids any perfect women, because it's been showed too much, and we cannot get to that point, like that we're going to be a perfect mom and a perfect teacher and a perfect woman and always wake up perfectly, you know, shaped and perfect. And so I always want to show girls who are a little bit more rock and roll and special. And I thought Camelia was the right person, because she is not in your she's very beautiful, but she's not in the French you know, what we call you know, the Parisian perfect skinny girl who is I don't know, the weird, like the weird image that people have, but that I don't know any of my friends who are like that. But when I read a script from America, whenever they ask me to direct something, it means that there's a French character, and the French character is always this girl in stilettos, and she's and she's perfect skinny girl. No, and I'm like, guys, yeah, we have to change the character. That girl doesn't exist. We are not like that. We would like to, but I think like every woman in the world, we wake up with a hair that is really bad. We dress badly. We do what we can. We don't know how to raise our kids. So stop it with this image. So that's what I'm trying to do in France. I have a series on Netflix, which where I also try to show girls that are normal, like normal girls. So that my kid, my little girl, doesn't see Julia Roberts as a normal person. Because I think that's been really bad for us.
Yeah. So
I love Julia Roberts, but all these films where she had no real, nothing except being really beautiful, it's not a good way to raise our girls. So.
And I think the series you're talking about is the Hookup Plan.
Yes.
Which is on Netflix, yeah. And you've directed a number of the episodes from that, I believe, right?
Yes, I'm the showrunner of this, so I write it. I wrote all the episodes with a co-writer, and I directed half of it, basically.
Oh, that's amazing. So as far as the male characters are concerned, you obviously have Vincent as the main one. He seems to be quite an interesting kind of mix as well, of somebody who's kind of has some immature sides to him, and then he has some very kind of visionary sides to him as well in the way that he sees the world.
Yes, so still in the because I'm always trying to think about what we need to see and in relationships and in characters. I didn't want to show a love story between an alpha male and a top model, basically, which is what we've always seen in romantic comedies. So I tried to create characters that are closer to reality, especially today. And this guy, I wanted him to be not too much of an adolescent, but more someone who questions the way the world works. So he doesn't want to necessarily be really successful or make a lot of money or kill the planet by buying more stuff. He just wants to find himself and a balance in his life. And a lot of 30 years old guys in France, I don't know, I don't really know about America, but I think it's quite global. They have this questioning today that they don't want to be exactly like their dads, who maybe had to be strong and make money and be like the male of the situation and everything. And and I think for them too, it's difficult to keep up with this model. So I really wanted to create a character who embodies this kind of new questioning of like what it is to be a guy. And it's the same with the girls. So they kind of find each other in a weird middle because they are imperfect and they don't represent the perfection, the Instagram perfection. They represent real people who fall in love with their problems.
Are you still there? Good. I just saw your pictures just started to break up just a little bit then. As far as where you set the film, where you filmed it, how did you come up with the idea of that particular kind of neighborhood? Because it wasn't kind of identified as like downtown anywhere. It was kind of to the side. We weren't quite sure where it was exactly.
It's in Paris, but I realized that I really want to basically kill every beautiful image that you have of France, the French, and Paris. Because when I speak to you, I realize I really am the worst. I couldn't direct Emily in Paris, but it's a part of Paris. It's the 12th. It's very unknown. But I wanted my obsession, and it was really difficult for everybody because when I obsess, it makes everybody's life complicated. Was that everything was really in the same neighborhood? So because that's how it works in Paris. You know, your school is next to the school where your kids are is next to where you live. And so I wanted the real school where we shot to be next to the apartment, and the real apartment of the mom to be in the real same building as the apartment of Vincent. I didn't want any studio. I wanted it all to be very real in a neighborhood. So I obsessed on that. I also wanted it to be a Paris that we haven't seen. So it's true that it's not the beautiful Paris postcard that you can see in most movies. But I thought it was really interesting to shoot that way because we could move from one shooting place to another, one location to another very quickly, which made the working plan very easy. And for the kids, because the kids, they can't work all day, so we had like morning in the school and afternoon somewhere else, and it really worked that way.
Right. Well, how was it making the film with so many children? And did you have to be careful about the hours that they worked and that kind of thing?
Yes, they can only work 3 hours. 4 hours, sorry, because my boyfriend is a producer, so I ask again. They can only work 4 hours a day, but that means from the moment they arrive to the moment they leave. So they have to dress and prepare and maybe play and eat. But I had a great help in it's a children director. She really took care of making them rehearse with me and helping me find all the individualities that they had, because I really want them to look a lot like their parents. So each of them, it's a little bit like in, how do you call the name? 101 Dalmatians. You know, the first sequence where they have the dogs and they really look like the dog. So I was obsessed with that. So that looks like the first sequence of the ABCs of Love, actually, while they go to school, because I wanted them to look exactly like their kids and to be a bit the same when they walk to school, because that's what I see. And so I casted them for a very long time. So that was the longest casting I've ever done, because you also have then to have the right to shoot with children. So it takes a long time to do the whole paperwork. And then we rehearsed a lot, and we tried to find some characters that look like who they were. So that was not too far from what they could be. And then we were like, okay, so how would your character walk? How would he speak? What would he do in this situation? And then I really learned to know that character. And it seems very small, because it's not like, my children roles are not doing some really difficult things. It's not like kids who really act in a horrible movie where they have to cry and do some very difficult things, but it's actually very natural in the film, which I was very proud of, because they seem like they're just being kids, and that's what I wanted. But yeah, it's complicated.
Yeah. And how did you pick the main boy to take that role, Oscar?
That was the same. It was really, really long. I spent a lot of time with two little boys that I liked. And the other one is Maxime, is the son of Samir Ghasmi, that I loved. But he was actually he's much older, this one. All the kids were 10, 11, and he was 13. He looks really small, but so I really hesitated. I loved them both. And then we thought that with Vincent, it was a little bit more look-alike for parents to actually think that he was the kid of Vincent. That was a whole
Yeah, I'm just going to read a couple of things from the chat. So Joni says, I love her. I can't believe how fast Noemie speaks, and in English. Very impressive. And then Susan K, and I think you've answered this question. She said, what grade and how old are the children? So you were saying they were about 11 and 12?
Yeah, they were between 10 and 11, but then one of them was 13.
Yeah. And were they supposed, what age group were they supposed to be in at school? Were they meant to be in that particular age group?
Yeah, exactly. That they had just finished that year at school, and they were redoing it because we shot at the summer. We shot July and beginning of August, I think. And so they were supposed to redo. I mean, they, they continued basically being on school. But what is really funny is that they really thought they were in summer camp. They really they were, they cried so much when it stopped. I felt like, we were, and now they have a chat group and they only want to spend time together. And I'm like, that's not how it works in films. We are really together when we do it, and then we never see each other again. That's how it works. But they don't understand it. They're really, so we try to have them see each other, and they were obsessed that we're gonna do a second film on them as teenagers, which was a bit of an idea that we had, continuing with school teen parents. But the film, because the film only stayed 2 weeks in the theater, it didn't do enough box office, so we couldn't. I don't think it will happen. But maybe we're doing a series.
Maybe you'll do a series. That's great news. The central idea of family is really quite interesting in the film, and at the same time, the families are not very sort of typical families. Your conventional 2 parents, 2 kids kind of thing. So was that something you wanted there, or did it just kind of come about?
No, it's something I wanted, because I am the object of, I am the result of such a very strange family. I have 9 brothers and sisters, but I have none with the same father and the same mother. So and now I have two kids with two different dads, and one in the way with a third dad. So I don't believe I have been a very normal family person, but because I am very obsessed by the family, and I'm a very wolf mother, and I'm really, like I'm really friendly with my exes, and my kids are really like taken care of in a big bubble. I want to show the world that it's okay to have a family that is different. And see, I always want to show the world that it's okay to be different and not exactly like how you should be. So, right. And actually, it does exist that in the school. I mean, my daughter, she almost has no friends whose parents are still together. And there's a lot of single parents. There's a lot of gay parents. There's a lot of so that's more interesting to show. Of course there are families that work really well, and actually it's funny because all my best friends, I realized they are together with their boyfriends since 20 years, and they have 3 kids, and I'm the only one who's like a real mess with that. But it's true that everything exists, and I think it's interesting to show it.
Where did the idea of the test tube baby come from? The idea that Oscar came from the test tube?
I think it was not my idea, to be honest. I can't remember whose idea was what. But we needed Oscar to have something that to actually feel different and need to feel like he was accepted by the community. So that was what came to us, because it's big deals of discussion in France, like the whole surrogate mother situation, and everything is a big discussion still in France. And we thought, okay, how does a kid who is born with not knowing his father feel at this age, where actually it starts to be really about being the same as the others, and that's how it came.
So even though your film is very happy, very feel good and everything, you still have some quite serious questions that are in there. Is that something you would agree with?
Yes, but that's what I do. My first film was about a gay guy who's about to get married to his boyfriend, and who falls in love with a girl. And then everybody's like, what? So you are gonna become normal like everybody? And so I was always speaking about difference in a fun way. I always want to show that the best way to actually unblock situations is to show that love and tenderness can make everything feel okay, even if the situation seems really bad. And laughing is the same for me. So it's always been the way I deal with situations. I think I've done it all the time. In the hookup plan, there's always some really difficult situation, but they still laugh about it. I did a film about a mom and a daughter who get pregnant at the same time with Juliette Binoche. I don't know if you heard of it, but it's the same. It was always funny, even if it was really annoying for the girl that her mom was pregnant at the same time as her, and she was really like a bit crazy. I don't know. It's the way I deal with things. I think I want to show that, okay, we can have big subjects that are real subject matters and that make people fight and get mad. But at the same time, if we decide that we're gonna see the other person and ask ourselves, okay, can I be in his shoes? Maybe I can change the way I think about that. Maybe I can just look at him with tenderness. Maybe I can just look at him with thinking, oh, I don't know what this person has been through. Maybe he's just like me. And then everything is fine. So that's what I try to do, even though I'm absolutely not perfect, as I'm telling you every 5 minutes. I'm absolutely not perfectly happy or calm or tender, and I have my moments, but That's what I try to go.
Yeah, thank you. The film in English is the film that you referred to with the two, the mother and the daughter who get pregnant, is with Juliette Binoche, right, and Camille Cotin. And I think in English it's called Baby Bumps, and it's on at the moment. It's available on Amazon if anybody would like to watch it. Very funny and very, like you said, quite unconventional and interesting characters. In the chat, Matthew writes, sorry to hear that there won't be a sequel, but series on the experience of families would be great. There is an audience here if we had access. Noemie, this film and your Netflix show are the reason I love contemporary French movies and TV. Not every French TV show available in the US has to be a crime detective show or thriller.
Thank you, Matthew. That's very nice. I do want to do a thriller though one time, but I don't know if I would be very good. I think I would, every time we try, like with my co-writer, we're like, okay, let's do a thriller. And then 5 minutes after, we're like, okay, so this girl is killed. And we're like, yeah. And then we like have to make 3 jokes about it. And we're like, okay, never gonna make it. So it's not gonna happen yet.
You laugh too much thinking about what you're going to do with it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I would make jokes about everything in the thriller, but maybe it will be a little bit. No, I love Tarantino. He does that, but I don't have the level or the money. So for the moment, I think I'm going to stick to comedy for a while.
All right. Amy asks about the daughter of Nora. She said, I don't see the bio of the daughter of Nora in my search. She tugged at my heart. Who is she and had she acted before?
She's so cute. She's the daughter of the screenwriter, Marinette, who's a very good friend of mine that I told you. And she came and the casting director was like, oh, she's really cute, but she's so small. She's really small compared to the other in size. Just like, do you think it's going to be weird in your, because when you do a film, everybody has to be the same size. I never understood that, but it's like every filmmaker will tell you, oh yeah, but this actor is too tall and this one is too small. You cannot put them together because, you have a frame. So they have to, you cannot have like the face of someone there and then someone there. So it's really important. And but I had a crush on her immediately, but she never acted before or after. She was really just there because she was basically we all put our kids in there, and which was really weird. But because we were the 3 moms and we actually wrote for them basically. So it was very weird for us to do a film about 10, 11 years old, to have 10, 11 years old kids at home and not take them on the set. And Marinette really hesitated to put her kid in it, I think. But then I wanted her so much, I didn't let her hesitate too much.
I wondered if you'd like to say something. One of the characters that I really liked was kind of a background character in some ways, but it was the African father and how he kind of acts as a kind of a frame to the whole story, even though he doesn't speak French very well, but his kind of activities and what he does sort of build a little frame for the film, I think.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time going to help kids do their homework near Paris in the suburbs, and it's a very complicated suburb. And I was amazed because the kids who come, the migrants who arrive in France, they basically have 1 month to learn French, the kids, and get in the class of their age. And French is impossible. It's an impossible language. Like when I was starting to teach it, I realized it's not possible to learn this language. It's so difficult and weird and complicated. And I mean, French, Kevin, but passé simple is, so the simple past is more complicated than the composé past, which makes no sense. Things like that. I was teaching my language to kids and realizing how difficult it was. And I also have been raised in Africa for a very long time because my father lived there and we lived in Senegal. And so I really wanted to show what it is to, like, for a family to arrive in France, get your kid in a class, and you left your country in a really bad situation, and then your kid gets in a class and you cannot understand what's happening in that class. Like, you have no idea, because maybe your kid has like learned, has been taught English for 1 month, but you have been taught English for 2 weeks and looking for a job and a flat and schools and things. So you didn't have time to basically learn it. And then you are in the middle of this weird place where nobody really speaks to you. And I don't know, it breaks my heart. I cannot even speak about it. So I really wanted him to show that he actually, at the end of the film, he says he was actually a photographer in his country. Like, nobody even asked him if he was something else than what he is in France, because most of them, these people that we see, migrants who are now can't even find a job in France. They had real jobs in their countries, and maybe, and you know, they were cool and had normal lives. And it's, I don't know, it's this is, for example, this was one of the things for me that are difficult to put in a comedy, because I think I could make a whole film about it, but if I but as a white French girl, if I raise my voice on this kind of subject, as you know, I mean, Kevin, you know, maybe, but it's very difficult for people to understand that someone who has no relationship to this kind of story can actually speak about them. You know, we see that a lot. Why did she do a film about that? She has nothing to do with it. How can she like raise her voice about that? She has nothing to do with it. But it's, I think it's very stupid, actually, because I think that everybody can make, I mean, I can create great male characters. Men can create great female characters. Why can't I create a film about anybody if I like try to like really speak to these people and understand them? But so anyway, so that's the part that is difficult for me, because I think I really had to stay very above and far from the subject, but I really wanted it to be in the film still. It's still a way to like put a little drop of what I think in a comedy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think lots of people would agree with you on that, and how important it is to bring these issues as you understand them, to bring them forward. Obviously, there are parts of it that we may not understand because we all have different experiences, but there is something we can do, and there is something we can say as well, I think. So thank you for talking about that. So when you live in, how long did you live in Africa, and whereabouts did you live?
I was out. I was in and out of Africa from 0 to 3, but then my father stayed there for a very long time. My parents were separated, so I was always going there, and we still go there because we have an association there for. My family has an association for women and their kids to help them. Women in Africa often get pregnant on specific situations, and then they get thrown out of the village with the as they are pregnant, and so we give them shelter and show them a new job so that they can get back in society, because their village really like doesn't accept them anymore. So we usually go once or twice a year, but we haven't been for 2 years now.
Yeah, that's I love hearing stories about like that, because I think that it's like in a lot of things, we tend to see people just as what we see on a surface, and then we don't see things behind them. So we might think of you, you know, as a comic writer, so you don't think about these other issues, kind of thing. And I think that's similar to what you were saying about people and language, and how if someone doesn't speak the language very well, you tend to think of them as being not as good. You tend to put them lower on the, and you don't think that, like you said, you know, this person was like maybe an engineer or a doctor, or something like that back in their country, whether it be Syria or Nigeria or wherever the people have come from. And then when they're here, like when they're in this other country where they don't speak the language as well, they come off that issue of the languages is so difficult. And even down to school and students, that's something that we find in our classrooms, is that we will often judge the students in our classes by how well they speak French. And we don't realize that that kid who's maybe just struggling to pass the class is actually like a really good like musician, or a really good like you know, programmer for computers, and they have all these skills, but their language skills are not necessarily as good. And so this issue of like what we see on the surface is I think is a really important one. And I think it's something that in schools, hopefully they're sort of developing this idea that
they're trying now, but in America it's much more than in France already, I feel, because in France it's really one way and never changes. And I realized because I lived in the United States, when I was in school in the United States, it's much more like encouraging and like, you know, telling you what's good and not what's bad, and, you know, trying to pinpoint where you could go, and telling you how to speak in front of the class and everything, which doesn't happen in France. Nobody knows how to speak in France. Nobody knows how to stand up in front of the classroom. Nobody helps you to do your homework. You know, I remember in the United States, we had people like helping us if we didn't know how to. In France, we're like, okay, school is finished, now go home. And if your parents don't speak French and can't help you do your homework, sorry. So it's like, you know, it's like same equality of chances, but is it? You're like, I don't think so. Because basically, like the kids I used to help to do their homework, they come home and nobody can help them. No. So what? Like, why do we give homework to these kids? There's no, you know, they can't. They arrive and they have like 12 kids in the same room trying to, they cannot. They stop school very early, and that's how everything we know happened. I mean, it's the worst. So I think that would be really important for France to start thinking about education. It's the key everywhere, but it's not really difficult to ask people to everybody stop giving homework, like teach them everything during school time. Okay, make sure the class is at the same level, or if you give homework, there's really like 1 hour where all the teachers stay and help the kids. I don't know, but there's really a problem. It's really a problem.
I totally agree, and it's one here too. We definitely find it here, and I know that there are different approaches. But Raphael asks, and this is connected to what we've just been talking about. The scene where Nora and her class prepare for a lockdown was funny and serious at the same time. Why did you want to have that scene in the movie? Is this now common in France in schools? I didn't expect this in France. Here in the US, it has become, unfortunately, very common.
Yes, it's very common. Yeah, it's mandatory. They do it every year. I think from a very young age, because of all the attentats. Why do I don't know this name?
The terrorist attacks.
Yeah, because all the attacks that we had. They learn how to react. They learn how to react if someone comes in and stop them, and that's why the kids are laughing about it and everything, because I think kids always have this way of reacting to things. But my best friend, who I wrote, we did a series with Camille Cotin called the Parisian Beach. It was how Camille Cotin became famous. It's a hidden camera about a girl who is horrible to everyone. And the girl I wrote that with, she saw my film before it was completely locked, finished. And she said, take out that scene. It's not funny. And I was like, are you sure? I didn't know what to do. And then it was horrible for me because she's my best friend. And we really worked together. So I really hesitated to keep it. And then the producer really wanted to keep it. So we kept it. But I can be uncomfortable when I watch that scene too. So I don't know. But then I saw Sony asked a question too. We're confused about how the film don't seem to know the parents of the students are. Yeah, no, they don't. They are supposed to, but there's I mean, she does ask like, where is your parents? And then checks a bit. But yeah, it's still France, you know. We don't really check things very well. It depends on the school, I guess. My kids are in a bilingual school. It's horrible. Like I have to have a specific card with her face and my face and everything, and it's because it's very American. But French school, I can see it's a mess. It's like everybody wants to get out. The parents are there. The kids want to get out, so they're like trying to find the parent. They do watch, but it's not crazy watch.
I mean, yeah, thanks for that. I didn't see Sony's question, so thank you for seeing that. In the chat, they kind of, when another question comes along, it kind of jumps up, and I hadn't seen that one. Would you like to have a break? Yeah.
Sorry.
Are you doing okay? Are you doing all right?
Yeah, fine.
Okay, good. Which French and American directors are inspirational to you or have influenced you?
It's gonna seem weird to you. French directors. I'm not very inspired by French directors. I think I'm very American in my way of making movies. No, I think one of my favorite movies of the world is Love Actually. I think that's one of the movies that inspired me the most in all I've ever done since. So I still watch it like a few times a year and cry and laugh, and I love the feeling of it because that's basically what I want people to feel. Then I'm not a very big comedy lover, which is funny. My boyfriend always says, you hate comedy because you hate to see your competitors. I'm like, no, it's not that. Like, he says I never want to watch comedy because I will say, it's not funny. So maybe it's true. Maybe I'm a horrible egocentric person and I cannot watch my competitors. So I do watch a lot of thrillers and a lot of really like intense movies. Of course, I love Paul Thomas Anderson because he can be funny and at the same time very dark. And Wes Anderson, the same reason. Tarantino, same reason. So I can watch those like over and over again, and then I watch a lot of series. So I'm not, I don't think, I mean, I'm influenced by a lot of things. A lot of it is my life, I think, and my friends and my family. But I'm not sure I have real like mentors that I'm completely, I'm not sure I'm this kind of, I have been this kind of person. Actually, my films are not art pieces. They are more like a little funny mess that I make with myself and friends, my team. So I cannot say that if I told you, oh my God, I am so, I am such a big, I don't know who I can find that is really charismatic lover, and I want to do all my films with him. You would be like, yeah, well, you will have to, you're gonna have to work a little. So I cannot say that I have a real mentor, but doesn't mean that I don't need one.
Well, thank you. That was Chip and Linda were asking that question. And then Sony says, yes, this film reminded me very much of Love Actually. And I just showed a clip from Love Actually for another film that I was showing in a class that was a Chinese kind of rom-com that is called Us and Them, that's on Netflix, that you probably won't, but it's in Chinese, so it might not really be your competitor, but it's one of those rom-coms where
only my boyfriend says that. I swear, I'm not this kind of person.
but it's one of the ones where you think the people are going to get together, but in the end, the idea is almost that they're saying goodbye is kind of the happy ending.
Yeah, it's always like that. We always try to like find another way to make the airport scene work. In all this kind of films, basically it's either everybody runs to the airport and finds each other, or like one just left to the airport and the other one has to go. It's crazy how many airport scenes. I think one of the best ending scene is also Crocodile Dundee. Do you remember it? When they're in the New York subway, and there's these guys who are like, she loves you, she loves you. I think I've watched this ending scene like so many times. It's also in a lot of my films because I realize I also put it in I kind of like copied it also in the hookup plan in my series. Sometimes like things are just in your head and you don't realize it, because the last time I had seen Crocodile Dundee was when I was 12, and then someone told me that when I was shooting, and I was like, oh really? Yeah. that's what I wanted to do actually.
Chip, you had your hand up.
I was just we're the ones who asked about the which directors inspired her, influenced her, and Love Actually is one of my wife's favorite movies. God. She watches it every year at Christmas time. So that was absolutely the perfect answer.
Well, and also the beginning of it felt so much like Love Actually at the airport, with the mothers and the children and the parents walking in with the kids, and they look alike and they're happy and they're going to school first day. It's so exciting.
Yeah, well, I hope, it's my kind of film. Anyway, I don't find anything that looks like it. It's because I think it was, I wouldn't say it was like made by chance, but I don't think a film like Love Actually, you can imagine that it's gonna work that well when you write it. And I hope one day that happens to me. I think that when they saw it, they were like, actually, it really works. And that everybody thinks that all over the world, even like real film cracks, or like my daughter or my mom. I don't know, it's so universal that it works, that a film like that, I don't think you can think, oh, I'm gonna do that. But suddenly, I think when they saw it, they must have been amazed. They must have thought, wow, our casting is so great, we've made it, it actually works. And everybody thinks that, which is great.
That's great. The Matthew says the scene at the swimming pool was hilarious, and then he's going to tell a story. A friend of mine once went to a French pool with his swimming shorts, and they wouldn't let him go in. The manager made him borrow a used pair of Speedos from the Lost and Found.
Well, that's what happens. It's very French. I'm sure they gave it, and I'm sure they didn't wash it. But it's funny because this thing about going to the swimming pool, I feel like I always have to buy the hat again, the little machine. So I really wanted to put it. There's a few things like that I really want to put in my film, and then at one point the editor is always like, should we cut it? I'm like, no, that's really important. It's like the ruler doesn't get in the pencil case, you know. I feel like the ruler guys made actually like rules that you can fold, and the pencil case guys didn't think about making it just slightly longer. It makes me crazy. It didn't change since I was a kid. And so I had to put that in the film. And then the editor was like, should we really keep that? I was like, yeah, that's really important. That's actually how I make my films. I want some very small things that you will all relate to. So yeah, maybe that's really French, but yeah, we have to.
Well, I remember when I was about 11, 12 years old, going camping in Germany and Switzerland. And that's the one thing we learned was that, and we were boys, and we had never worn a hat before. The girls had to wear hats in swimming pools, in England, but not the boys. And so when we had to wear a hat at the swimming pool, it was like, you felt sort of so embarrassed. And you were going down this big slide in the one thing, but you couldn't go on it if you didn't have your bonnet on. So
it's horrible to wear this hat anyway.
But I thought that the whole swimsuit thing was very funny too. And Vincent is very funny in the way he says everything.
He's
Where in
so
the
great because he's so
Sorry, say that again.
he's so great because he's so normal and natural, and you really feel like you know him, and he's just your friend guy.
Yeah.
who's just there. I love that about him, but he's so funny and great as a person too, which you can feel when you see him.
Mm-hmm. I've listened to him a few times in interviews, and he just comes off as just kind of this ordinary guy, and answers the questions straight up front and all that kind of thing. Yeah. Connie asks, where in the States did you go to school?
So I went to school when I was 11 and 12 in New York City. And then I came back to the United States in New York again when I was 20. I was slightly lost as to what I was going to do. I had done some very big studies in France. My parents wanted me to do l'ENA, which in France is the administration school that the presidents of the Republic does, or the ministers, and it's like really high end. And I didn't want to pass the test. So I had done like 4 years of political sciences, and I was a bit lost. I wanted to be an actress, but I was really bad. So it was all very complicated in my head. And then I went to New York, and I did a short class at NYU. So I worked for a while as a waitress in a French restaurant, and then with the tips, I did this short class of 1 month in NYU, where you would make a 16mm short film. And then, so I made my first short film. It was really deep and dark, like all short films. And because when you do a short film as a student, you have to think that it's always about pedophilia or murder. It has to be really dark. It has to be. It's like that. Like all my friends, even the ones that are the happiest people in the world, they did that. So I did it about like pedophilia. It's impossible to understand the film. Like I saw it recently. I was like, okay, this makes no sense. It's really pretty, but it makes no sense, of course, because it's very difficult to make a film in the beginning. So it's this little Chinese girl in Chinatown. It's actually pretty. It's 16mm, but it doesn't make sense. And then I came back to Paris. I was like, okay, that's what I want to do. And I did. I got in a school in London called the National Film and Television School. It's like it's the national school, so it's very cheap for what you get. And I did this school, and then I had a baby at 25. So I stopped. I started working in production, and when she was born, I decided I would not leave this kid for something I don't love. So I came back to writing at night, and I was working in production during the day and writing at night and during the night. And I won a competition in France with a channel. I don't know why I'm going so far in my life when you just asked me where I went to school in the States. Sorry, I'm doing like a whole psychotherapy here.
This is wonderful.
So I was writing at night, and I won this competition, which make you do your first TV film. And that's when I started again. But I wasn't like, I'm not this kind of director who was born knowing that I would do that. I thought I would be a writer or a president. And my parents thought I was going to be a president. So.
The parents thought you were going to be president. They hoped. Well, there's still time.
Yeah, I think it would be very weird for people because I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure I can do it again. But I don't have the time, guys. It seems awful. It seems like an awful job. Too complicated in France. Like everybody's in the street all day long. You're like, oh, who is it again?
So, we've got a few comments in the chat that Amy says that you are a very natural person too. And then Maureen says, this interview is fantastic and delightful. And Matthew encourages you to run for office.
That would be so funny.
Yeah, you know, it might make a good film. You never know.
Yeah, I was offered a film like that, but it's too complicated to run for office for people, normal people in France. You have to like have the signature of I don't know how many mayors, and mayors are so weird. You don't want to like get in there, like in small towns in France. Like, hi, can you sign my paper? I don't think it's really complicated. So I read a film like that, and I was like, not for me. I don't get into politics now.
But you did go to schools, and you didn't find those as complicated then.
No, I was a very good student. I told you I'm very scared with teachers and everything. So I was always I was an A person. I was really straight. I was working a lot. It was not easy. Huh? And I'm not this kind of kid who didn't work and had a good grade. I was just working all the time. And I didn't want people to copy on me. I was not cool at school. Huh? Really not cool. I became cool much later. Now I'm really cool. But I really wasn't.
So what are some of the things you're thinking about for next, your future projects?
So I'm writing a film about a stewardess in the 60s. It's a French comic book that was very well known called Natasha, Hôtesse de l'air. And I got the rights and we're writing the adaptation. It's more like, do you know OSS? I don't know if OSS went abroad. OSS 117.
Yeah, we showed.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Sissy.
No, I was just saying, yeah, we showed both of the OSS with Jean
Okay.
Dujardin. So our audience is probably familiar.
It's the mirror film, but with a girl who's a stewardess, and she's not stupid and misogynistic and racist. She's actually fun and smart and delightful, because I couldn't do that. But she's in a world of misogynistic and racist and terrible people, and she goes to adventures and saves. I mean, against her will, like she saves the day, and it's really fun and cute. Yeah, she found it.
And is that's a film rather than a...
Yeah, that's a film. And I have a few series that are not completely sold yet. And we just shot the season 3 of the Hooker Plan, so I've been quite busy finishing that. I also have another baby on the way, so I'm gonna have to stop for a while because I have to be stuck to the baby for a very long time, as I told you. So.
Well, I hope that all goes well. We'll be thinking about it, sending you good vibes from Sacramento. Somebody who's not seen the film, Chris, says, I haven't seen the film yet. I'm looking forward to watching it tonight, but I'm really enjoying this interview. So that's right. Cecile, what did you put in the chat there? What's the link?
I think it's the link onto the comic book I was speaking about that I'm adapting.
Okay, all right.
So it's a comic book from the 60s, and well, we're trying to make it very modern and fun. I think.
So who's gonna play Natasha?
That's the big question. It's very difficult. I mean, we have very few famous actresses of 30, and in France, it's very important for this kind of film that is a bit more expensive than what I usually do because it's in the 60s. To make the film without a big shot on the film, and because there's none, we hope that someone will come up. No, it could be Léa Seydoux, but she's not that funny. I'm horrible. No, I mean, she's funny like that, but I don't know if she can act comedy really, like in a smart and funny way. We could also, I mean, in the beginning, when I started wanting to do this film, it was for Camille, but now Camille is a little bit older. So do I still keep her and make her act younger? It's becoming more and more difficult to do that. I don't know.
What about Virginie Efira? Is she too old?
So
Because
it's, you know, they're like 40, 45, these girls now.
ah,
Normally, Natasha is supposed to be 30. But I mean, I don't really care. It's just because I love these girls. Virginie Efira, I love her. I really want to work with her. Camille, I always love her. And so we'll see. We thought about Gloria Tillier.
I don't know. I don't know who she is. Sorry.
Oh, it's not written. She's in the Nicolas Bedos film. I'm sure this one travels to the state. Comment s'appelle?
La Belle Époque?
Ouais.
No, it did. I mean, it is in the state. We've been trying to show it for 2 years, but I don't know why. For some reason, the US distributor doesn't let us. I don't know why.
That's funny because I thought it was a very international film. I thought it was the kind of film that would travel.
Well, it's been bought by the US distributor, but it has not been released, and they don't want festival to show it. So I have no idea what they're doing with it.
Okay.
Maybe it's a remake idea. It happens. It happens more often than we think. It's weird. The distribution of films. So
Matthew, you asked, will this film be released in the US? And I just was wondering which film you meant.
The one, you know, that we're watching this weekend. I was wondering if it was going to get a US, like iTunes or Netflix or.
Maybe. I have no idea. You know, we have no real cling on this kind of things. Nor do we have like we cannot choose really the titles or the poster or like where it goes or the way it goes. It's very difficult because like you make it's your baby and then you're like, okay, now bye. You make your life. Some other people are gonna like sell you and do whatever, and sometimes you're like, it's horrible. What did they do? The poster in France made me so sad. I shouldn't say that because there's a girl from UGC on the call, but but she knows that I never hid it. Because there were no kids on the poster, and I was like, this is really sad because it's a film that you can go to with your kids, and I think if you see a poster with kids, you know that you can take your kids normally, even if it's like, except if it's like Chucky or, I mean, Chucky's not a kid, it's a doll, but you know, anyway. So I was really sad because there were only parents on the poster, and I thought it was a bit random, and so I had no power on that, so I don't think so. See, Vanessa speaks, she says not yet. I don't think it will, I think maybe it will go on a platform, yeah, at one point, but they're still trying to sell it on the French TV.
Yeah, this is not usually the kind of films that US distributor buy. And I remember one time I asked them why, and they say, oh, comedies, they do well in festival, but they don't do well when they're released in theater, which I thought was stupid, but they really don't buy that many comedies, and it's too bad.
No, it's funny because some comedies that don't work in France, they work better when they are seen abroad. Like there's a few comedies like that had no success in France and that really worked on Netflix, like the one of Axel Lafont, MILF. I think it was a big success on Netflix, and here it was really badly received. And now it's like, you know, it's people abroad loved it. My film with Juliette Binoche was not a big success in France, but really worked well in South America and in the US. I don't know. I don't know why there's this weird thing about not selling the films that didn't do very well in France abroad, but it's still.
I think it has more to do with comedies that
Yeah.
the US audience usually still kind of expect French films to be intellectual and dark and would always have a bad ending, even though it's a comedy. And, you know, this kind of, we had a lot of, when we started showing pure comedies like the one you made, we had a few negative reactions from people who were like, this is not French cinema. And so we've been trying to say, no, this is French cinema too. Or like Matthew said, you know, the French TV show you have on Netflix, it's all thrillers and really dark drama. And then you have the hookup plan and it feels like, oh, wow, we want more of that.
Yeah, and I think that's true as what Chip and Linda said. I think comedy audiences don't like to see things in their language, or subtitles can be a problem with comedy. Although I sometimes go to the subtitles because I'm a little bit maniac. So I check everything. And I always think that I speak better English, of course, than the person who's doing the subtitles, which is not true, obviously. But I go and I check them. And sometimes I find it funnier in English because English is a funnier language. It's easier to be funny in English. I don't know why. It's not easier. Shouldn't say that. It's more impactful, like easy, quickly. And the titles are better. Sometimes in French, we're like, oh my God, this title would be so cool in English, but it's so bad in French. It looks like a horrible TV film and everything. It's funny. The English language is cooler. It's more cool. It's it's just, it makes everything works better because it's more impactful.
Matthew mentions that people are surprised when a show like Call My Agent is a huge success. It's very interesting. I think it's something that this idea of the streaming platforms has sort of put us into a new environment, because we do have this kind of open access to things, you know, like on Netflix, you can see all of these different films. You could watch Chinese rom-com, you can watch Japanese, you can watch things from Nigeria, you can watch things from all over the world, and things that you've never been exposed to and would probably not be exposed to if it had to come through the, you know, through the distribution to get to a cinema house, to get to a movie house, that kind of thing. And so people have sort of just open to things, and we don't know really, it's, you know, the results are going to be unexpected because we just don't know what to expect, really. I put together a film series that was for people, retired people who were watching on Netflix, and then the class had a group discussion afterwards. And it was just really interesting to see, you know, the reactions to like Italian, you know, contemporary Italian, Nigerian, French, and Chinese, you know, popular films, not necessarily works of art type film, you know, but sort of the popular films that are done well in those countries, and then they were put on Netflix. And just to kind of have these conversations with people about, you know, something that you probably would not have watched had you not been asked to do it, kind of thing.
I think it's really that. It's not the same to drag someone to the cinema than to have it in your own house. And it's opening from country to country, but also generational. Like, it's crazy because I see that the hookup plan, I thought it was really for girls in their 20s, and actually my friend in their 40s, they love it, and my mom's friends, they love it in their 60s and their 70s, and nobody would have said that. It just shows that what we've always thought about when we make a film, like who is it gonna speak to, like who is gonna be the audience, is a bit of a bullshit. I think if a film is well made, or if it touches you, it will touch a lot of people, whoever they are, wherever they were, what age, you know, whatever their age. And I love that. I think it's a great way to open up. That's why I do TV. I mean, I do Netflix, which is TV, but that's why I also wanted to jump and do both cinema and TV, because I want to to open up to that. I think cinema is very expensive and it's a big deal to go to the cinema. We cannot like think that everybody can and has to go watch your film in the cinema. When you do a series, it's easier for people, so you're not asking your audience to really like pay and go and sit there. Even if I love the cinema, but I think it's great that there's this possibility for people to see films from all over the world in their living room.
I'm just going to read Sony's comment. She said, which I think is really quite interesting and insightful, American rom-coms are also predictable in their storyline. So perhaps that's why they say the foreign ones won't work in the US. Here, any rom-com storyline about a busy single mother would have to end with the happy ending of the mom finding unexpected love versus something completely different, like your film. And I think that's something that, the rom-com is a sort of an American invention in some ways. And so there are certain conventions in it that in other places have kind of tried to turn them around somewhat, making a different type of rom-com.
Yeah, well, we do have the same mentor, which is Truby, and also this guy. I have it in front of me. I don't know why, but which you probably know, Blake Snyder. So we have John Truby, Blake Snyder, and we have the same mentors about like how to write any film with the steps and everything we have to do. And I can assure you that when I did this character of the single mom, some TV people here, and the TV people here are the people who put the money for making your film happen, were like, oh my God, this character is so horrible. How can she be like that to her kid? I was like, she's just working, guys. Like, there's no huge deal. She's not horrible. She loves her kid. She's just a working mom, which happens. I mean, there's a lot of working moms, and so I do think we also try to twist the genre of the rom-com everywhere because it's been done so much. Like I said, we're always trying to find another way to do the run to the airport. But I don't know if it's more in French or in America. I've seen a few rom-coms from the US recently, and they were completely different. I can't remember the name of one that I saw actually very recently. But I think it's more like the contemporary rom-com tries to break the rules a bit because it would be really boring if it's always boy meets girl, there's a problem, they find a solution, and then boy runs for the girl to the airport.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true, that people all over the place are still writing the similar stories in terms of like the construction, the structure of it, but then finding all kinds of other ways to spin off on it. You're getting votes for the César for the best interview.
Yeah, that would be my only César ever. Because I'm never invited to this kind of parties.
And then Max McNeely says, where did you find the cat, Jacqueline?
I found the cat on Facebook. It was a really big joke for everybody because I said, does anyone has a really fat cat? And I said I didn't mean to be mean, but I needed a really fat cat. And then so many people answered. And they were like sending me pictures of their fat cats. I realized that fat cats were really like easy to cast. There's a lot of them, apparently. And then one of them said, oh, my cat is so perfect. And she's called Jacqueline. I was like, okay, that's the one I want. She was really chosen on her real name because it was too perfect.
I loved all the animals. And I know when I saw that first scene with Vincent, it took me back to Chacun cherche son chat. When we met Madame Renée, and she had all the cats and then the one dog. And I just think it's brave to have so many animals in your film.
Yeah, animals and kids. So I just wanted to show people that I could handle it. Animal and kids are the worst. No, it was funny. I love animals too, so I was really happy that he was an animal sitter, which I think is a very funny job. That's good at him.
So you had somebody who looked after all the animals, or did each one have a handler?
No, just one person for everybody. No, I do normal budget films, so we're not that many. I mean, they all have an owner, I think, but then the guy is the one who like does the go between the owner and us, and he comes with the animal, and he kind of teaches him to do whatever, but they didn't have to do anything on my film. I just wanted them to act natural and be animals, so it was not too difficult.
Raphael, you raised your hand. Oh no, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Kevin.
There we go. Cécile, do you have any things you'd like to say to us?
You're muted.
We're not very organized. You mean final thoughts before we part?
I don't know. How's everyone? How's everyone feeling? Naomi's been so generous with her time. I don't want to just hold her forever.
Does everybody have a question?
Does anyone have any more questions?
There is one on the messages.
Matthew says, I want to give a shout out for the impressive beams on your room ceiling.
Yeah, my sister told me that they looked unhealthy and that maybe the roof is gonna fall on my head. I hope not. I don't know who checks that.
I don't know.
She was like looking and she was like, they seem very weird. I was like, really? I'm in the countryside. So it's a very old house of the 1800, I think. I hope I'll still be there tomorrow.
Or somebody's saying, bring Natasha to Sacramento when it comes out.
Okay.
Yeah, it's true that this was we usually show our films in a beautiful old theater built in the 30s, right? I mean, it's just really, really nice. So we hope that we'll be back soon. I mean, for good.
Yeah, great. Now I hope we will be able to travel again soon. I'm not good at staying in the same country all the time.
Well, we hope you'll come to Sacramento, to California, the capital of California.
I think I'm very Californian at heart. I want to live in California. It's my dream.
Well, we can make your dream come true. How about that?
I always do the lottery for the green card. My daughter is American. I think they should just take me in, but it doesn't work like that. Yeah, her dad is from Philadelphia, so she's completely like, she has an American passport. I'm so proud. I think it's really cool. Anyway, I'll come. Well, yes, I'll be very happy. Thank you so much, guys.
Well, thank you so much, Noemie, for having us. Yeah, into your beautiful home in the countryside. And so this was the last. Of our French Film Friday 20th screenings. Next time we meet will be when the 20th Sacramento French Film Festival starts on June 18. And we can now say that we'll have our first in-person screening on Sunday the 20th, and that would be at the Esquire IMAX Theater. So we'll hope you'll be not too scared to join us in a theater, and also that you'll be still willing to join us, to let us come into your living room to show all the great films that we have selected for you. We should announce the selection either at the end of this week or early next weekend. But it's going to be great, and there's going to be a film with Camelia Jordana. That's probably going to open the festival, and that's the Les choses qu'on dit, les choses qu'on fait by Emmanuel Mouret. So we're very happy about that. So that will be my little scoop for you. So I hope you liked her in Noemie's film, and she's really amazing in the Emmanuel Mouret. She was nominated for a César for that. And so yes, we'll see you soon, and you'll hear about us even sooner than that. We'll have the Zoom discussions, of course, and we are planning on a virtual opening party on Friday the 18th. So stay tuned for that. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Noemie and Vanessa, for organizing that.
Have a great
It was a real pleasure. It's a real pleasure. Thank you so much. Et merci à tout le monde. Thank you for coming. We'll see you soon.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Bye.
I'm gonna do this in the